afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Welcome to the weekly meeting of the Rotary Club of Barrie. Special welcome to our visiting Rotarians and special guests. As the late great Harold Ferdinand used to say, things go better when you're here. Please stand for a Rotary opening, O Canada, and toast to the Queen.
For good food, for good friends,
and for the opportunity to provide service above self through Rotary, we are thankful.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
At this time, I'd like to call upon the introduction of guests. Sue Croft, do you have a guest today? I guess not. Are there any other guests or visiting Rotarians present?
Yes, we have our presenters for today, Ash and Sash, but they will be properly introduced later. Thank you.
Very good. Already met them. Lovely ladies. We hope you enjoy your time with us. This week, the Beacon editor is Gary Pearson. And if you're making any announcements, make sure you have them in writing to Gary. Thanks for a wonderful Beacon last week by Catherine Elphick. It was a wonderful Beacon. And do we have any announcements? Alison Dirtnell, do you have any announcements? Guess not. We have a number of birthdays and anniversaries. The major anniversary this week is Carol and Jerry Norman, 50 years married. Wonderful. On February the 20th. We also have a number of birthdays. Brenda Clark, club anniversary. Arlette, club anniversary, 24 years. Greg McWatt, a birthday as well. Sandy Martin, 25 years. Greg McWatt, was it 25 years for you, Greg? Anyway, Vic Scott, 15 years. And past president, Alison Dirtnell, 24 years, a combination of membership in different Rotary clubs. Jeff, do you have our birthday song?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, fellow Rotarians. Happy birthday to you.
I should point out, this is a low budget production. We couldn't afford the tape version. When President Deb asked me to fill in today, I was quite flattered. It's actually almost 49 years since my last position as president, and it's great to be back. She also gave me the choice of choosing my sergeant at arms, and I felt I'd go with the tried and true. I'd stick with Eric. Of course, you must appreciate when I was president, Harris Steele was my sergeant at arms. So it's quite a relief to have somebody I can predictably count on. Now, just while we have a few minutes to fill in, I'd like to make a couple of announcements. Most of you would not remember Bob Angeloff. Bob was past president. His widow died a couple of weeks ago. Joyce and Bob were good friends of Joyce and Ernie Rotman. Bob was an excellent Rotarian. He attended Central Collegiate, played football with Jack Garner and Millet Salter. And I feel that Bob was held the unpublished record for sponsoring Rotarians. When I was a member, at least 25% of the club had been sponsored by Bob. And he did an amazing job. Coincidentally, Bob sponsored Ernie Rotman and myself. And we both joined Rotary on the 31st of August, 1961. While we have a bit of a lull, you'll all recognize this, I'm sure. The chain of office, the history of the chain of office, back in the early 60s, we had charter flights to Europe as fundraisers. And in the early 60s, we went to England and France. And past president, charter member, Ross Turnbull, purchased this emblem. These emblems in Britain are put on license plates to indicate which clubs you belong to. And he presented to the club, and the rest is history. If you, as president, start the meeting without your chain of office, there's a fine, and only the president is allowed to wear the chain of office. That's why I'm not wearing the chain of office today. Today, I'd like to make a special presentation to the Sergeant at Arms. Does anybody recognize this? This was the wheel that the Sergeant at Arms operated for years and years, and it kept the meetings going. It kept them light and on time. The wheel basically was fabricated by Barry Welding. Stan Hodge was a Rotarian at the time. It was refabricated, repaired by Jerry Williams, past president Jerry Williams of the Bilbis, and there are actual plates on the wheel. I will give it to Eric. You have a clean slate, Eric. There are no fines on the wheel, so it's up to you to put the fines and use it as you see fit. There's another sticker on the side. It's the Ontario Hydro sticker. Basically, there are no electrical components to this, but it says accepted for professional use only. You would qualify for that. The device must be operated by qualified personnel. The device should not be used in a hazardous location. Ontario Hydro assumes no responsibility for physiological effects resulting from use of this device. PTSD excluded. So sometime between now and next meeting, Eric, I will make sure you get the wheel. Now, this brings me around to Sergeant at Arms Eric and his particular portion of the meeting. Eric, you're on.
Thank you, past president, past district governor, Peter, and Saturday Night Live guest host. Good to have a meeting under your guidance. I'm going to mute a couple of folks whose mics are active in the background. All right, thanks again. And I've got a couple of things to deal with today. Actually, while we've got you on the line, Peter, why don't you unmute again? And Jeff, this may not work. I'm going to attempt to share my screen of the picture of Jim Gilmore so you can give us the background that many people would have missed out on. So let me take a shot at that. Are you seeing a screen? Oops, that's not the one you wanted. All right, if you could unmute Peter, you could tell us a little bit about this one. Where did he go?
There
Past
it is.
President Jim Gilmore, 5354.
Jim was an agricultural missionary. He and his wife were agricultural missionaries to India. And we presented Jim and Eleanor with $1,500, which was considerable money in 1972. Eleanor looked after arts and crafts in the leper colony. And the money provided to her purchased materials and kept the women in the leper colony going. Jim was very active. I can't recall how many years, but certainly quite a while, maybe 15 years or so, as an agricultural missionary in India, he and Eleanor. And they came back to Canada for a while, then went back to India. And coincidentally, they were in the building next to the building where Indira Gandhi was assassinated when she was actually assassinated. So it was quite a history. But Jim ran the Skyline poultry farms in Innisfil, and he provided chicken for our chicken barbecue way back when. And the rest is history.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that story, Peter. I'm gonna do a couple of mutes again. That's great. I met Peter Jim Gilmore a couple of years ago at a past president's function, and I remember him telling me the story then that he was a president at 28 years of age, and one of the youngest members at the time as well, because he was recruited as a youth member. So pretty neat stories. All right, let's see, Secretary Jeff, why don't we come back to our main event. Brandon, I think, had a big day yesterday. Let's show this one first. Past President Peter reminded me of Cousin It on the old Addams Family. So we think we were able to interrupt Brandon's course of action before he became Cousin It. Have you got maybe actually I'll show you a little bit of work in progress, because this has now occurred. This was yesterday. Can you show us the in progress pictures, Jeff? There we go. So this is I love the pigtails. That's a pretty nice look. And Jeff, I do believe you've got a video that the Three Musketeers took for us. Well, that's a mission accomplished in a lot of ways. And there he is. Brandon has just come online. That was pretty amazing. Tell us a little bit about your hairdresser, Brandon.
She was great. I have a lot more sympathy for the amount of time it takes to get your hair colored. That's why I was about just under 3 hours. It's a lot of work.
Now, I noticed a fair bit of advertising and product placement going on there. Was there anybody associated with McDonald's involved in the shoot? Trevor, you appear to be muted.
I was pretty occupied with just the whole experience. There's a whole lot.
No, we just happened to get breakfast together. It was it was just normal.
We were a little hungry for fines.
Past President Peter, you would have had the tradition back in your day about fines for advertising and blatant marketing. You're on mute currently. Why don't you unmute and let us know what a fine would have been worth 49 years ago?
25 cents.
25
And they
cents.
complain about that.
I'll take it.
What do you think, Peter? In honor of your guest hosting, is a quarter a good fine for Mr. McKee?
I think we can get carried away with going back too far and too much. So I think that would be an insult to the effort that Brandon has put into it. So basically, I would think, based on the fine level set by his father being very generous, multi-dollar fines, I think we should say $20.
Wow, good.
All right, deal.
Trevi, Trevi and Rory were a big part of making this happen. Trevor's sister was the hairstylist.
Nice.
Drag you down with me, buddy.
I'll pay it. I'll pay it.
Yeah, we'll all contribute. Yeah.
This is a great mission accomplished. You'll recall that first husband Steve last week put a challenge out on chat. Was very successful. So the total for Brandon's new COVID hairdo is $5,100,
Amazing.
far beyond what we had ever expected. So congratulations, well worth the aggravation and the look, Brandon. It's what's been the reaction out in the real world?
Just a quick, it was 4,100. Just
It's over now. It's over the 5,000 now.
I just refreshed it.
Yep. Steve's got his coming in, so his is coming in through a different channel, but it's there.
Oh, okay. There's a little sneakiness in the background. Make sure I go through the weekends, and that's okay.
Well done.
Yeah, I have to figure out new dues because I'm trying to plan. I had the fin yesterday. Today I got spikes, so I have an additional day to figure out.
Nice.
Reaction is really just the driver's reactions, because me trying to drive with my head out the window or my seat lowered back, it doesn't make for the safest driving. So reactions from bad driving are probably the most extreme.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. Just large claps for this one. That's been a lot of fun to watch it get worse during the lockdown. Much appreciated. Okay, we're going to do a couple of things again to enjoy a little bit more on, I would say at past President Peter's expense. We're going to do breakout rooms for a little bit, but Secretary Jeff, can you pull up the polls? We're going to learn a little bit more about your memories of past President Peter's year. Okay, so here's the good one. Past President Peter was president in 71, 72. So where were you when Peter was president? You get your choices. You get not yet born, public school, high school, college, all grown up like Peter. We'll get a nice demographic analysis here.
It's frightening.
That is excellent. Why don't you go ahead and give us the reveal, Jeff? Look at that. We've got just slightly more that were in high school or university at the time than were not yet born or still in public school. Not too many already all grown up. So that's a pretty neat look at where we were all at. And let's pull up the other one there too, Jeff. This is a bit of a trivia quiz about what technology did not exist back when Peter was president. You can pick as many of these as you want. So we're testing you to see which of these, if any, actually did exist when Peter was president. Lots of votes coming in. Now I'll be testing my memory as to whether I remember this myself. All right, let's reveal this one, Jeff. Pretty good. The personal computers were not on the market yet. There was one that existed, but they only made about 50 of them. The Krevex or something like that. Email was invented in 71. But of course, there were no personal computers. So it was large VAX systems that were using email at the time. And the rest of these were not yet out. MRI came just a couple of years later. The mobile phone came a few years later. So we had a very different world 50 years ago. And I don't think we were doing too much Zooming at the time. All right, thanks, Jeff, for that. Past President Peter, any comments on the technology of your day? What was considered outside the norm when it came to technology at meetings or when you were there?
You have a full list of my shortcomings.
These are all the things you're not good at today?
But I wouldn't admit to it, no.
All right, well, we got, we're at 12:40, past President Peter. Do we have, do you think from your schedule, we have enough time for 6 to 8 minutes of breakouts? let
I
people have
think
a
so,
little
yes,
chat?
perfect. Yeah, that would work well.
All right, reflect back on where you were back in the 70s and technology as you've seen it change. We'll break it into small groups and we'll be back in, let's say, 8 minutes, Jeff. This is the leftover room, I guess.
Yeah. So Peter went off into a breakout room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Jody. Oh, he went off to a breakout room too.
There you go. Got a few there.
Were you not assigned one, or are you just not going?
Well, I was hoping to tell Peter to lower his computer screen.
Oh, the camera? Yeah.
So I was hoping to kind of hop on there and then thought, oh, okay.
He's in room 4. I wonder if I can move you to room 4.
In front of everybody though. I sent him a text.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Gary.
I don't know if he can hear us.
No, I don't think he can.
He's on beacon duty.
It's hard if you can't hear anybody if you're on beacon duty.
I don't.
Oh, he can hear me. Oh, but he's muted. You're muted, Sir Peter.
I was just saying it's quite the history session today.
Yes.
Yeah. It's awesome when you talk to Peter and he starts talking about, the days, his early days in Rotary. He can just go on with the stories and they're all awesome.
Yeah.
And sounds like there was some real characters, like real personalities with some of the original players. Todd, Daryl, and Rob. Yeah.
Oh, there's Todd.
Hey Todd, how is your daughter enjoying Rotary?
She likes it. She didn't get a whole lot of aspect of the in-person thing. I mean, she got it, when she was warming up to Rotary, but she joined Rotary December 2019. And then, and then in March, we went in lockdown, but she was really enjoying like getting together, meeting people, talking, seeing the speaker and all that, getting out of the office. So she's still enjoying it, but she says it's completely different than what she was expecting. And for somebody like her, I guess it's a hybrid versus for us, it's like, okay, this is new, it's temporary, it'll be behind us. But for her, it's like, that's just life.
Yeah.
Same with her working from home versus at the office. She's like half and half now. So it's like, she doesn't really know any different.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, it's glad she's sticking it out because it's, kind of with this whole change and the kerfluffle of trying to get us used to it in technology, was a bit painful for all of us. So new people, it's kind of like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah, I think for anybody that's, relatively new like her, it's got to be tough because then you're just like, what am I actually getting out of Rotary? Why is it part of my life? What's going on? Because we're doing, minimal fundraising. We're not doing anything where we can get together to fundraise. We're not doing any socials like St. Patrick's Day, our annual, Christmas get-togethers and all those things. And then you don't get to see people at lunches. Like at lunch, you got to meet new people, talk to people. How long have you been Rotary? Who brought you in? She was excited about all that, learning the history of it. And then all of a sudden there's nothing. So I think for the newer Rotarians, it's got to be tough for them to just come to lunch every week and watch it on a Zoom and go, so this is what Rotary is.
Yeah.
Because they're not really getting the feel of what all of us have lived through the years. But she's enjoying it. So, and she also knows the other side. I mean, for years and years, she's volunteered at, Fun Run and Kenton Fest and other things. So she gets, what it's about during normal times. But I worry about others that just show up to these meetings at lunch only and then say, okay, there's an hour and a half out of my day and back to work.
Yeah, it's hopefully we get at least back to some kind of a hybrid, but I have a feeling it won't be till into Jody's year anyways.
Yeah, I would think we're at least April for sure, at the least. I mean, that's one of the reasons that the Ministry of Education pushed off March break. It's a weird scenario, but it is number wise, it's better that the kids are actually at school than at home for many reasons. One of the things that they're not talking about, which is the biggest issue, is the amount of suicides that are going on all over this country, but particularly in Simcoe County and with kids, and they're simply just not talking about it because they don't want to put that out there. So it's tough for everybody.
There's a lot of opioid overdoses happening also.
Yeah. Kids are lost. Like you take kids in high school or public school, whatever, it's almost like you're permanently grounded, which is what I've heard from, some of my employees about their kids. Cause it's like, they can't go visit their friends. They can't go to their grandparents. They can't go to the movies. They can't do this, can't do that. And then they're schooling from home. So they're at home 24/7, not allowed to go anywhere, do anything. I mean, that's starting to change a little bit now, but I know a lot of parents that are still homeschooling the kids because they're worried to death about, the new corona or COVID that's out there. And so kids are really, really suffering mentally. They need the interaction. That's why Sick Kids Hospital really pushed the premier to say, you've got to get these kids back. Like the safest spot for them is the classroom, like mentally.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Like one grandson, in his class, somebody has COVID. So the whole class has been sent home for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But the sibling gets to go to school. So the sibling's at home with one that's been exposed.
Right.
Same school. And they're, and the parents aren't told to stay home.
Right. And I don't get the rationale behind it, because if the rest of the class has to stay home, of all people, the sibling you think would, because they're there with the kid. Like they're there day and night. So yeah, there's some weird rules out there right now.
Welcome back from breakout. Past President Peter, once we're all back, I've got one good news story. If I could do one more SAA piece before I turn it over to you for program.
Certainly. Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Good.
And President Jeff, we've got our Secretary Jeff. There's a series of 3 slides there just after the breakout session. And so why don't we do this last little bit of SAA? Just a nice news story. I'm not sure if Sandy Martin or Chris Van Niekerk is on the line. Chris, you around?
Yes, he is.
Chris, can you unmute?
I'm here, Eric.
Great. Tell us a little bit about what this is all about.
And I believe Sandy's here too. So
Right.
what we had done, the Community Service Committee decided to deliver cookies to Roberta Place and the COVID assessment centers in Barrie to the frontline workers. So John O'Brien baked us 1,200 cookies, and Bud, Sandy, myself, my daughter, and Linda, Bud's wife, we all got together and package the cookies and deliver them off to the different places. So it was a good time.
Nice.
I'm gonna throw Bud under the bus because he's not here to defend himself, but certainly we were all wearing masks and everyone wanted to eat the cookies, and Bud was obviously complaining quite a bit about not being able to eat the cookies. So I only say that because he's not here.
And there's Sandy making some deliveries. Sandy, are you there? Do you want to tell us how it felt to interact with the first frontliners? I'll have to unmute.
Here we go.
There you are.
Okay. I can't see any video now, but
We can hear you and we can see you on the screen.
oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, the first one we went to was up on oh, I can't remember the name of the street now, Prince William Way, that's it. And so they were very surprised. It was an extra one because we had extra cookies. So we decided to do a few spots, and they were really thrilled. And we went over to the health center, and that was the one with the red box. So they were equally thrilled that we should think of them, and so forth. And then I still had extra cookies left over. So I went into the medical building there, went to Life Labs and to the radiology and to the urgent care center. And yeah, it was like Christmas. So it was great.
Well, that's terrific. What a nice project and a great thing to have happen. I've been starting to hear more and more that frontliners are feeling a little more out of the way and unremembered as we're a full year into COVID now. So it's nice to kind of bring back that sense of helping out and saying thanks.
Yep. Yeah, it was good.
Nice. So that's all I got, Past President Peter. I got a few things for next week, but I wanted to pass it back over to you so you can move on with the program. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Great job, as usual. Wonderful. I think we basically are ready to start our program. And Bass is going to introduce our guest speakers. This sort of clarifies a point. When I looked at the program that President Deb gave me, I saw this week's program was Sash and Ash. I thought it might have been berry trim and molding. Think about it. A little obscure, but anyway, over to you.
Thank you, Past President Peter. It is really my great pleasure to introduce two people I've met a while ago and had a wonderful chat with. These women have emerged from some of the darkest places and are now shining their light to lead others to discovering their own. Please welcome Sash and Ash of Born Legacy as our presenters today. Sash and Ash.
Hi. Thank you so much for having us. Is it okay if we go ahead and share our screen? Take that as a yes.
Go ahead. Yep, that's a yes.
Okay. All right. Let me just pull this up here and we will get started.
Okay, so thank you so much, Rotarians, for being here. We are so honored to be able to speak in front of you, and we're excited to see where this conversation goes.
Nine years ago, we met in a trap house where people abuse a lot of drugs, sell a lot of drugs, and do what they have to do to get the drugs. We walked destructive paths because we believed we weren't capable of anything more. Experiencing trauma after trauma through violence, drug addiction, rape, prostitution, and other forms of abuse. When finally we hit rock bottom. It wasn't until the fear of staying the same outweighed the fear of change that we began to transform ourselves. After years of hard lessons learned and tens of thousands of dollars invested into personal growth and development, we discovered how much value we had to offer women who had similar experiences, and thus Born Legacy was created. We extracted the most profound tools, insights, and pivotal moments and compacted them into a series of workshops and online programs to lead other women to a life of empowerment. We know the depths and the challenges of transforming from a life of self-destruction to a life of empowerment. We pulled ourselves out of the gutter and turned our pain into power.
1 in 3 women are sexually abused. Every 2.5 days, a woman or girl is killed as a result of femicide. 83% of domestic violence cases go unreported. So what does this mean? That approximately 20 million women in Canada alone are sexually abused every year. In 2018, there were 99,000 reported cases of intimate partner violence. That means that there were approximately 500,000 women who did not report their abusers, and this number is steadily climbing. 1 in 10 women are suffering from PTSD as a result of trauma, and it is all so close to home. In 2019, Barrie was ranked the worst place in Canada to live as a woman. We have the highest rates in all of Canada for human trafficking, and our levels of domestic violence, homelessness, addiction, and fatalities due to the ever-increasing opioid crisis are steadily rising. So what do all these things have in common?
That they're all responses to trauma. Rather than passing judgment, we need to be asking these questions. Why would somebody choose to remain in a relationship where they're being abused? What causes a person to turn to drugs and alcohol in the first place? And why don't they seek help? And if they do, why do they keep relapsing? Let us take you on a little journey to help you gain a better understanding of what trauma response can look like. So myself, I grew up in a pretty good home, middle to low class, structured, but my dad and my mom divorced when I was young. And for 10 years, I didn't speak to my dad through some of the most challenging times of being a kid in going into my teenage years. And because of that, he chose not to see us for certain reasons and not behaving a certain way. He chose another family over us. And for me, I felt like I wasn't good enough. Something was wrong with me if I wasn't a certain way, that I wasn't loved. And that had me pursue a certain lifestyle. And I became very promiscuous, constantly seeking validation and affection and attention, especially from a man. And not believing in myself, not thinking I'm good enough, and having low self-confidence, I started to attract a type of man, especially because I believed I wasn't good for anything more than my appearance, and a lot of other limiting beliefs beyond that. And so I attracted a man who only valued me for my looks. And so when I was 18, I ended up falling in love, and we had this vision of having a family and growing together. And one day he proposed an opportunity for me to be a stripper or an escort. And my heart shattered. And I felt like if the man that says he loves me and wants to have a family with me sees me with this way, and from all my past experiences with men using me for sex or other things, I felt like then I must not be good for anything. And so I wasn't able to pursue that world with somebody I was so in love with, because I knew that there was a sense of power he had over me. So I ended up pursuing that world and ran away and became an escort.
For myself, I was born into poverty, and I I had no stability as a child. I grew up in very toxic, unstable environments, and I was exposed to a lot as a child that kids should not be exposed to. A lot of violence and abuse and drug addiction and gang culture. And this really shaped my image of what life looked like and what my life was supposed to be. When I was 11 years old, my mom sent me away to live with my dad and stopped talking to me for 3 years. My self-worth was so low at this point, between this, like my mom sending me away, not having a relationship with my dad, and being bullied at school, that I started to seek attention outside as well. And I would do anything for love and connection. Because of the image of what I thought a man was supposed to be, because of my prior conditioning, I believed that a man was supposed to be violent and supposed to be very dominant and controlling and manipulative. So guess what types of relationships I fell into? Very abusive ones. When I left my first abusive relationship after 3 years of my boyfriend being in and out of jail for abusing me, I thought things were going to turn around, but unfortunately I had so much psychological damage from all of that prior abuse that I just got very heavy into drugs and began using cocaine, alcohol, and pills as a means to escape a reality that I really didn't know how to deal with. As we said in the video, 9 years ago, Ashley and I, we met in a trap house. It's how we met. She had a black eye, and I looked at her, and when she lied to me and told me what happened to her, I knew she was lying, because I was fleeing an abusive relationship at the time as well, and our souls just connected. From that time, over the next few years, our paths were so synchronistic, and oddly enough, within a week of each other, she had a near-death accident, and I gave birth to my daughter. And it was at that time that the fear of change really outweighed the fear of staying the same. And the fear of staying the same outweighed the fear of change. And we realized that we needed to start taking control over our lives. So we invested tens of thousands of dollars into personal development and started to just transform our lives. And as we did, women started to reach out to us asking how we were getting these results in our lives. And we realized that we had the key to something very valuable, and thus the creation of Born Legacy.
And we are on a mission to bring light to those dark places. Our transformative mastermind workshops help women who are suffering the impacts of trauma, who want to claim power over their lives by bringing awareness to their self-destructive patterns and being able to lead a life of fulfillment. So we took all of the incredible insights, tools, and lessons that we learned from our own experiences and compacted them into a series of 5 workshops based on the premise that healing is a journey. And when an individual, especially a woman, endures so much trauma in their lives, it's not like they can just be set on a path to jump into a career and do well in the world. They have so much baggage that they need to dig out in order to understand themselves to be able to move forward. So this is an overview of the 5 programs that we created. Chapter 1, Epiphany, really gets women opening their mind to new concepts and helps them to realize that there's more to life than what they know. In Chapter 2, we help them to really look deep inside to get a better understanding of their triggers, their fears, their insecurities, their patterns, their cycles, so that they can own responsibility for their lives. In Chapter 3, we really help these women to step into their power, to get to know themselves, and to start to stand in that power and create a vision of who they want to be. In Chapter 4, Love After Abuse, we start to introduce them to conscious men who value women for more than what they've been valued for in the past, to show them that not all men are the same. Not everybody is going to take advantage of you, and people can be trusted. In Chapter 5, Create Your Legacy, we start to connect them with different resources and tools in the community to help them to grow wherever they would like to beyond where they are now, whether that's into entrepreneurship or jumping into a new career, building their resume, whatever that looks like. Our programs are not cookie cutter. They are individually geared to each woman who comes through our programs. So here's a little insight into what one of our programs looks like.
Have you ever experienced something in your life that caused you such extreme pain that no matter how hard you tried, you just could not seem to move past it? There is no magical day coming where suddenly everything is going to be different unless you consciously make the choice to take new actions that are going to better serve your life.
I got a lot from this program. I felt super safe. I encourage anyone who wants to come to this program to immediately feel safe being here. The facilitators are pretty real, pretty raw. I really want to thank Born Legacy for inviting me because I learned how to explain. So I want to thank you guys. It opened my eyes to a lot of things. It made me go deeper. I just get such confidence in the group. It makes me strong. Older, younger, it's very good. I'm in awe. This is just the beginning for you. I can see you guys going a long, long way. I'm leaving here today with some conviction of changing myself for the better. I'm telling you, it's inspiring. And I wish my daughter could have been here to be a part of it. It feels like a safe place, and like I don't even know any of these other women, and just like I guess it's the hearing them be vulnerable makes it possible for you to be vulnerable, because like it's like they have that trust, you have that trust. It seems like a very understanding, open-minded, like loving group of people. Like just what you guys are doing is just unbelievable to me, because if I had that when I was a little, just a little girl, 4, 5, 6 years old, I would have became such a stronger girl like David's going to be, and I know it. As I've grown to like myself, that's still there. I still struggle with that more than I'd like to admit. But I like me a lot. As I like is to think on the same journey to find happy. No, seriously, know better, do better, know better, do better, know better, do better. My shift is going to continue, and then I go home and I'm going to lay here and I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to do this tomorrow. This is going to happen. I am going to make it happen. No matter how I feel, I'm going to make it happen.
I now stand here before you, unable to recognize the girl I used to be.
So the impact so far, we've been able to say that we successfully have run 8 mastermind workshops impacting close to 100 women in the community. And we've been featured on multiple media platforms such as Her Stories, Empowerography Podcast, Barry 360. And we've been working closely with the local shelters, building relationships with vulnerable women in the community. And we're also in the process of creating a 10-part docu-series, having conversations around important conversations with experts in and survivors of human trafficking, addiction, domestic violence, sexual abuse, and so much more. And some of the stories and transformations that we've been able to witness in the women that have come through. Emily, she came to us addicted to meth, living in immense fear due to the very abusive and controlling relationship she had with her ex-partner. And through our programming, she got herself clean from meth. She took power over the manipulation of her ex-partner and began creating new boundaries and reporting his aggressive behaviors rather than silencing.
And just have to say right here, in no way do we market ourselves as being any kind of addictions counselors. It's just one of the effects that our programming has, because it is so powerful.
Exactly. And Stacy, she came to us with severe anger challenges. She was in the midst of leaving her family, and through the programming, she was able to find constructive ways to deal with her anger, own responsibility for her own destructive responses, and better able to understand herself and her emotional triggers. She was able to bring those insights back home to her partner, and they have now been creating a stronger, healthier relationship and have worked through the separation. And Tina, she came to, also these names are not,
they're aliases.
Yeah, just for anyone concerned. Tina came to us as a survivor. She was trafficked for most of her life from a small child, and 40 years later, she still suffers from DID and PTSD. Through our programmings and coaching, as well as other supports that she's had, she's been able to find more self-awareness and understanding of her diagnoses and experiences, and she's been able to work through those extreme fears and start to build that confidence back. Now she has a long road ahead of her, but the impact of going through Born Legacy has been able to create a lot of pivotal moments for her.
So our challenges, let me tell you, there have been quite a few. Right now, at the position that we're in, we have two main challenges. Number one is our team, and number two is our reach. So as most entrepreneurs, probably all entrepreneurs, Ashley and I have been wearing all the hats in this business. And what started out as this amazing vision and us going out into the community, just trying to serve and impact and enlighten people, became a lot of business operation and trying to take care of all the back end stuff. And we found ourselves working more in our business rather than on our business.
Not being able to give the impact that we want to be giving.
So right now our goal is to open an office/event space where we can start a team of people to help us to take on those different roles that we need support in, so that we can focus on creating the impact we want to create. Anything else we want to add to that? I don't think so. The other part to that is our reach. So we are not marketing experts by any means, and every woman who has come through our programming so far has been from word of mouth and referrals. So that goes to show how powerful the programming is. We really want to tap into expanding our demographic and our local market, because we realize that women have been coming to us from all walks of life, all ages, all genders, all like identity, like how they identify. We have women who identify as non-binary. We have people who identify as trans. So we want to be able to tap into better marketing resources to be able to reach a wider demographic of people, because we have a very large vision for where we want to go. And we now have cemented that the results from our programming are very powerful, and we just want to share that. So
thank you so much for this opportunity to just be here in front of you. And yeah, if there's any way that you would like to get involved, we would be very grateful. I guess I didn't really touch on the fact that we started Born Legacy right before COVID hit, and we have definitely exhausted all of our time, money, resources trying to build this business. And gratefully, we've had a lot of support from the community in building this, but we are ready to take it to the next level. So if there's any way that you want to get involved or have anything that you can offer us to push us forward, questions?
Absolutely. We would be very, very grateful for any of your support. Thank you so much.
Sash and Ash, it's my pleasure to thank you on behalf of the club for your presentation today. Thank you for sharing your stories and presenting us with facts that most of us don't know anything about, but we need to know about. It's a very, very powerful presentation, and we appreciate how brave and strong you are, and you're a real inspiration. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and we wish you continued success with your challenges and in your own personal journeys. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Arlette. Excellent presentation. We have, pardon me, time now for questions. If there are any questions, could the Rotarians ask you? Will you feel free to ask questions, answer questions?
Yes, that would be
Any
wonderful.
questions, please?
Past President Peter, I have a question. What is your income, your business model? Is it strictly donation based?
No, so we started out by actually just running different mastermind workshops, and women would pay tickets to come into the programmings. Because the nature of what we do is very high ticket, high value, the demographic we really want to serve, they're not necessarily able to afford our programming. So we were just giving away a lot of programming and then charging the people who could afford it. So we've since realized that there's a better market in going into organizations that are already serving the people that we want to serve. So we're currently working on creating partnerships with organizations that would hire us. The women would pay subsidized fees through the organization, and then they would have the funding to pay us directly. But we also still do run our masterminds. Like right now, we're in the middle of a 6-week program. Women pay $600 a ticket to be a part of a 6-week program. So there is a lot of money in what we do. We just need to be able to tap into better markets and create the proper alliances with organizations that have the funding to support the women that we really, really want to support.
Yeah, like we really want to get in with like the jails and different
Social
services. We are working with Paro right now of Muskoka, so different industries like that.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, ladies, I think that your presentation was fantastic. And I think I can help you guys. So I put in some information in the chat. I won't ask any questions. I'll leave that for others, but please contact me and we'll see what we can do for you.
Perfect.
Amazing.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. We got your information.
Any further questions? Thank you. Excellent presentation. We have a certificate of appreciation. I'd ask Secretary Jeff to show us that appreciation certificate. There we are. This certificate of appreciation, a donation has been made towards our Rotary goal to end polio and also to support the fight against COVID. So this will be presented to you in person when we have a chance to pick it up. But thank you very much. Excellent program and good luck with your venture.
Thank you.
So much. It means so much to us.
Thanks again for having us.
If there is no further business for the good of Rotary, I would declare this meeting adjourned.
Well done, Peter.
Thanks, Ash. Thanks,
Thank
Ash.
you. Thanks for your patience.
Well done, Peter.
Good work, Peter.
Thank you.